Hey there, it's Jenny McGarvey, and I am back with you today to create 3 travelers notebook scrapbook layouts. And I'm really excited about it because I am using the Cocoa Daisy Flourish collection, which I absolutely love. I think it's so very pretty, and I love the color palette as well. So this is my first dive into using the collection. And I love using the simple notebook to create layouts. I think it's a great size for very specific projects. So, like, oh, I have this very specific, you'll see what I mean. Anyway, so I like to take the books apart because I like to use each of the sheets individually because I cannot finish an entire notebook each month as much as I would love to. I think it would be amazing, but I can't get that many done. So I like to take them apart and then I glue them back together and have individual notebooks. At some point I'll show those to you what they look like when they're finished, but it's several pages from multiple collections in one, and then so on and so forth. So I've got a 5 by 7 photo here that I'm trimming down to fit in the notebook. I don't want it to take the whole page, which is why I printed it 5 by 7, but I do want it to take a large portion of the page. So I'm just trying to figure out what else I want to use on this page. I have several different ideas. One main idea, which is that I want to place something over that larger photo. So that is looking up the mountain in my neighborhood of the wild white poppies that grow. And I can't decide if I want to put the smaller photo on top of it or if I want to put a card or whatever. So I'm sort of playing around finding which cards I like, and then I can choose which paper I want to use, if that makes sense. I just couldn't decide because I didn't know which card I wanted. So I decided that I want to put the photo, the smaller photo, on top of the larger photo, and so I'm going to trim the card down also, just because I want it to fit a little bit differently than it is in its 3 by 4 form. Obviously, it's fairly monochromatic and it's mostly an orangish color. And I'm going to use that because these poppies are white with yellow centers, but also in our neighborhood, a bunch of California poppies grow in the spring as well. And so the orange flowers on the patterned paper and then also the orange on the 3 by 4 card are sort of a nod to that. I'm going to use the foam adhesive to pop that smaller photo up off of the larger photo, just to give it a little bit more dimension. And I didn't want to put the photo, the smaller photo, too far towards the top of the larger photo because I wanted it still to give the impression of the mountain, if that makes sense, versus covering that up and you not being able to see that. But it's time to also add some embellishments up to the top as well. So I'm going through the ephemera that is included in the scrapbooking kit, and I always love these pieces because there's such a wide variety of different types, and you have strips, you have images, you have labels, just it makes it really, really usable, and so I love that. But this time I want to add these 3 little shapes. I think they're quatrefoil, but I'm not 100% sure. And just have them sort of staggered, looking very cute up there. I actually really like this a lot. I think it turned out great. And then also add a little word as well over the top because I can never quit that. I'm really a big fan of that. The ephemera are self-adhesive, which is really nice. I don't have to figure out ways to make ephemera work for all of the different shapes and sizes. And it's always nice to not have to use adhesive. Now I'm going to use this stamp set from the scrapbooking kit as well, and I want it to overlap with that. So I put the sticky note on top so that I could stamp and not get the ink on top of it, called masking. That just makes it so that I don't get the ink there. And then also adding these super cute little florals on the side as well. It just feels really whimsical. And wild, if you will, which again, that's what this is. This is just wildflowers growing on the side of a mountain in my neighborhood. Turned out really cute, right? I just love the way that those flowers look down there. They're part of the stamp subscription. Like I said, they're just really whimsical and wild, and it fit absolutely perfectly. All right, so now we're going to do another layout in the same fashion, the same simple notebook. I'm going to go through the pieces and decide which one I want to use. Sometimes this is like one of the most lengthy parts of this process is deciding which one I want to use based on my photo, the story, the way that I want to embellish it, how I'm going to lay this out, all of that. So I've been wanting to use this scallop one because I really like this paper a lot. I didn't know how I would use it though before this layout. And kind of what I had thought was that I would layer these two, but again, the scale of the 6x8 paper is ever so slightly larger, as you can imagine, than the scale in the notebook. So they're not going to really perfectly work together. So I have to kind of think about this and how I'm going to do this. So what I decided to do is that I'm going to deconstruct this a little bit. I'm going to cut the scallops from the bottom off, just as you can see, using my scissors, trimming them carefully-ish, as carefully as I can. I'm not the world's most careful person, but it's okay. That's what we're gonna do. So I'm just cutting and cutting and cutting and going to clean that up a little bit. And then how I'm gonna make this work is I'm going to use some of the white cardstock that's included and just adhere it behind it. So putting some adhesive down right there, and then I will stick the cardstock there and then just cut around it basically. Now, I could have measured it and added a perfectly cut piece, but I decided that this was simple enough because it's a rectangle shape and for me would probably work better given somehow I always manage to screw up the measurements just enough that it's annoying or noticeable. So now I'll trim the top part of that as well so that I can place it here and then adhere it on the page. Now, I'm not going to be able to line it up perfectly. So what I decided to do is put this one in the center of the ones there, creating another scalloped edge. Hopefully you can see that because I'm not doing a great job of explaining it. It's kind of actually difficult to come up with the words to describe it, but I actually really like it. Like it just adds more dimension and interest and depth to the page, and I didn't even mean to do it. So the next thing I'm going to use one of these faux leather strips to put right on top of the scallops, and I love that. So now the left-hand side photo is just a standard 4x6 photo that I cut down. It's nothing special in terms of like a shape that I printed. I just cut out the 4x6. I wanted it to be bigger, but I didn't want all of the background there either. So this really worked out. And then obviously the one on the right-hand side of the page is just a standard 3x4. Now I wanted the faux leather strip to be ever so slightly shorter, so all I had to do was just trim the extra off, and it worked great. It's the perfect length, and there was just a little bit of extra white space there. So I still can't get over matting my photos on white cardstock. I love the pop that that provides. It just keeps on giving more and more there, and I love it. So I'm going to add that to the left-hand side of the page. The photos look the same. They're not the same. They're ever so slightly different, two different photos, but I just loved them both and wanted to use them both. So that's why I did this on this layout. Such a cute little couple of photos. They needed to be preserved in the scrapbook layout. So again, I'm going through the ephemera. This is from the Creative Kit. It's so pretty, right? And I just want to accent beautifully but simply down here. And I sort of have this vision of basically what that floral is, like a trailing floral that grows up, and then a more, I hesitate to call the stamp geometric, but like, so a really organic piece and then a more, like I said, geometric. I mean, you got to go with me because that's pretty loose there, but together. And I love the way that it creates not only movement, but also height as well. Another thing that I cannot quit is the enamel dots. It's kind of like the white cardstock background. I just love the little extra bit of whimsy that they add, so I'm still using those, absolutely. Now, the butterflies are super just pretty in this collection. I actually don't like butterflies, but I thought that they went really well with this layout because of the movement and the whimsy from the, like, the swinging in the outdoors, and the butterflies just felt perfect for that. So I definitely wanted to use those there. Now, going through the little deco cards, these are meant for layering, meant for creating a whole lot of depth in layering. I forget, by the way, at first that these are not self-adhesive. All the rest of the ephemera are, but these deco cards are not, and I just completely forgot when I went to set it down. Anyway, I wanted to use that one over here because again, I wanted to add some of that depth and a little bit more texture to this particular layout. So it just turned out so cute. It looks adorable, and I thought, wouldn't it be also cute if I added another little flower to that layer or to that cluster, because then you would have floral elements on both sides of the page. So it kind of balanced that right there. So I decided that I would just tuck it right behind those little bits and pieces, meaning that it would be very, very simple and very, very not meant to stand out, subtle, if you will. Okay, so this roller date stamp was included in a past kit many moons ago from Coco Daisy, and so I thought that I would use it to add the date from the photos over there. The rest of it is pretty self-explanatory, like what's happening, but I thought it would be fun to add the date. Okay, so I had both of these photos and I couldn't decide which one to use because they were both so stinking cute. So I decided that I would kind of just look at both of them and think about the supplies and what I would use. And I ended up using this baby shower photo. So the last layout will be same kits, same simple notebook, but I will create a baby shower layout with a square photo, which is again something I haven't done for a really long time, if we're being honest. Like I haven't used a square photo, but I had the perfect one, and so that's what I was going to use. Now, again, I don't know that I think that any of these layouts are perfect or they're extraordinarily beautiful, but I'm really happy to have recorded these moments. I had so much fun doing it and really got my creativity going. And so I feel like that is just a win, 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 even if the layouts aren't jaw-droppingly gorgeous or particularly, I don't want to say particularly beautiful because they are beautiful, right? Like the memories and the supplies, they're all very beautiful, but they're not just jaw-dropping layouts that make you say, oh my gosh, that is absolutely incredible. But I really have enjoyed this process, and for me, that is a large part of what this is all about. Trying to decide what I want to use a card and I want to use it to like sort of balance the photo, but I can't decide which card I want to use because again, as we talked about, it's a baby shower and I know the right one is in there. Like I know one of these cards is right. I just can't decide which one. So that's kind of where we're at. I also wanted to include this orange floral patterned paper, which I said in a layout a couple of times ago that it reminds me of the California poppies, which grow and flourish in my area. So I wanted to use that, and I like it with this particular layout as well. I love the little blue floral on this. If you watched my unboxing, you know that. I think that this, for some reason, this aqua with the gold outline is super pretty. It stands out. It just looks really great. I don't know why I'm so drawn to it, but I really definitely am. So what I decided to do was just cut the floral out from the card instead of using the whole card itself and putting it on my layout. And I'm really happy with how that turns out because it's really super cute. Okay, so I'm going to adhere that floral up at the top, having those straight edges sit flush together, and then have the photo underneath it ever so slightly so that the edges of that flower overlap just a little bit. Now, that card feels right. Like it feels like the right card. And honestly, looking at it now after the fact, I probably should have gone with that one, but I just really couldn't feel settled for some reason. I'm not sure why. I still needed to go through the cards a little bit more and make sure that I had the perfect one. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure I chose the correct one. Like, I feel like I probably should have stuck with that original one looking back on it, but it's all right. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to bring me joy, and I have to really enjoy it, and it has to just really go, right? So, this will definitely do. So I'm going to trim the very top edge off. I just want it to sit right up there at the top and be ever so slightly shorter than it is. So that works out great there. The card that I chose, by the way, is also very pretty. I like it very much. I just think the original one that I had selected probably goes a little bit better with the overall layout, if that makes sense. Okay, so this roll of stickers is fantastic. I absolutely love it. There's like 14,000 stickers on here. Okay, obviously it's an exaggeration, but you can see there's a ton of stickers. So I wanted to pull one of them out and then use them with the deco cards to create a little layered cluster over here. Layering bits and pieces together is some of my favorite parts of selecting items. I just feel like you can always pick like the perfect little pieces that work together to go with your particular layout, but then also to like capture the spirit at the same time of the layout. I don't know what it is about it, but I always really enjoy that very much. I definitely wanted to layer together several different elements in this particular little cluster. So that's why I started with the deco card and the label and then that little stamp that we already pulled off from the roll. And then I also just wanted to sort of embellish the whole bottom part, if that makes sense. Like I wanted it to be, I don't know how to describe, but like a cluster and then a couple of individual elements all working together to embellish the bottom of this layout. So I'm just layering them all together. And again, for me, it's all about doing it for my eye, like it looks right. So I can never really describe what it is specifically about how I place them exactly. Like I just always know the amount that looks right to me. Now, in terms of like overlapping, right? Like when I'm layering it on top of it, that's something I can't describe. Now, creating clusters, I try to stick with 3 or 5 elements. It just always is most pleasant to the eye to have usually 3. Like the rule of thirds is definitely in full effect, but I will also sometimes go as many as 5 in a cluster. But so you can see this kind of creating like a whole element that down there at the bottom. I really like how it turned out. It's very cute. Okay, so we've got the right hand side finished. I need to finish up over on the left hand side. And so I'm going to add not only this little piece right here, but I'm also going to add a title as well. Who would I be if I didn't add some foam stickers? Because I always love to pop up some sort of element. It just never gets old. I always definitely enjoy it. But I wanted to add some stickers, alphabet stickers. These are puffy, so cute. And I believe that these are included in the scrapbooking kit. So they're just a really, really great size for titles. They're not large and overwhelming, but they are just they're great. They definitely stand out. There's plenty of letters for creating a title. So yeah, that's basically it for me for these three scrapbook layouts using the Cocoa Daisy Flourish collection. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment box below and I'll do my best to get back to you. I will also link up everything for you. And if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe and make it a great day.